Hello everyone, Sarah Mackenzie here. Glad to be with you. If you're new to me, I am the host of the Read-Aloud Revival podcast and online community, a community that is dedicated to helping parents make meaningful and lasting connections with their kids through books. I am a mom of 6. My oldest is 17 and the youngest are 5-year-old twins. I've heard someone recently say twinados. That is the perfect term for 5-year-old twin boys. Anyway, 6 kids all between those ages, 5 and 17. I'm also the author of a couple of books, Teaching from Rest, A Homeschooler's Guide to Unshakable Peace, and The Read-Aloud Family. Oh, I'm waving back. I see all your waves. So good to see you. I'm glad you're all here. Hey, so today I want to talk about a couple things. Today I want to make sure you've all gotten this. It's a free family book club guide. Usually we just give these to our homeschool on says, hey, I'm reading your book in my bathroom right now. That's one of the best reading spots, especially because you can lock the door and your children can't bother you. Okay, so anyway, reading guide. I have to stay on task here or I'll keep you here all day. The family book club guide is usually, we make these every month at Read-Aloud Revival, but they're usually only available to our premium members. January, we're giving them away. So go get yours. readaloudrevival.com/snowflake. And the book that we're reading with that is, of course, the Caldecott Award winner, Snowflake Bentley, which is a beautiful picture book biography of the true story of Wilson Bentley, who was the first person to take photographs of the snow. And oh my gosh, the illustrations in this book are just so beautiful. And it's a moving book. We're going to talk about that more in a second. Today, what I really want to do here is I want to walk you through the 4 steps that we do in our family book club guides. Sorry, I've got so many things teetering. Make sure nothing's gonna fall. So we've got 4 steps. Step 1 is step 2. I'll tell you about them in a second. Step 3, step 4. I want to walk you through them because I don't know if you're anything like me, but I tend to complicate everything in my life and make it more difficult than it needs to be, especially my children's learning experiences. I'm just saying. So I want you to know how simple this is. It is very simple. So if you haven't gotten it, you can still get it for free at readaloudrevival.com/snowflake. Today we're going to go through the 4 steps. I'm going to show you how simple they are. If you have questions about the book club guide or about Read-Aloud Revival Premium, because we are open right now, and I'll tell you about that in a few minutes too, pop them into the chat. And either I'll answer you or a Read-Aloud Revival team member will answer you. And hey, if you are a Read-Aloud Revival Premium member and you're here and you want to answer questions or, tell us about your experiences using book club guides and stuff, feel free to do so because we'd love that. So the wonderful thing about the 4 steps in the book club guide is that these 4 steps are the same pattern. They're the same steps you can use with any book that you read with any of your kids. So talk about simple, right? You don't need different level curriculums and literary guides for each different age. You just need 4 steps. And you can use them with your 5-year-olds and you can use them with your 18-year-olds. And you will get a wonderful experience developmentally appropriate to each age as you go. And that will become apparent as I walk you through this one. You also don't need to spend a lot of money on literature. Thank you, Jesus. You can go to the library with your library card. You can get yourself a book and you can use the 4 steps and you are good to go. So it's very, very simple. You can use it with all of your kids. And everybody's literary needs will be met. So let's talk about those 4 steps. Actually, just because I see so many people coming in, I want to say hello. And today we're going to talk about the 4 steps in the Snowflake Bentley Family Book Club Guide. They're also the same 4 steps you can use with absolutely any book that you read with your kids to infuse your home with delight, to invite them into conversation, and really to transform your kids' relationship with books. I'm going to show you how that happens as we go through the steps. To get your guide, though, if you haven't grabbed it yet, you want to get that at readaloudrevival.com/snowflake. Okay, so let's just start with step 1. Step 1 is read aloud. So the best way to get your kids to read more, if you need to get your kids to read more, the best way is to read with them. And at Read-Aloud Revival, we choose books that appeal to a broad range of ages because we believe that families who share books all together connect and bond in a unique and beautiful, beautiful way. People ask us all the time at Read-Aloud Revival, How many books should I read aloud with my kids? And the answer is always this: start with one, because you can only read aloud one book at a time. So just start with one. In January, in fact, I would encourage you to start with Snowflake Bentley because you can see how effective this is, and I think it will just free you of any literary angst that you might have or worry about connecting with your kids or doing enough with your kids in their reading life. So one of the things I've been thinking about lately comes from a book. It's called The Power of Moments by Chip and Dan Heath. This is kind of unrelated to the guide, but in that book, Chip and Dan Heath explore the idea of why do we remember certain things? Like if your family takes a vacation to Disneyland, this is one of their examples, and you asked them, and every hour they got a text that said, rate your experience of Disneyland from 1 to 10, and everybody rated it. At the end, you could average that out and say, oh, our experience of Disneyland was like a 6, because a lot of the time you're gonna get a 10, but when you're standing in a hotline and the kids are crying and you have to wait an hour and a half to get on Splash Mountain, it's gonna be like a 2, right? So you have this wild variety between experiences. So your average would be like a 6. But if you ask most people 2 or 3 weeks after they get home from Disneyland on a 1 to 10, tell me about your experience, they'll say something like 9. Why is that? So what they say is what you remember about experiences is the beginning, the end, and either the high or the low, whichever one was more profound. So this offered me a ton of relief when I read this, because I thought, okay, so not every day has to be magic, not every homeschooling day has to be magic, not every family vacation has to be magic start to finish. We want to start it in a certain way, we want to finish it in a certain way, and we want to make sure that we have one really memorable experience. You're going to see that happening in our Read Aloud guide. I was so happy when I read that because I thought, hey, this is how we do book club. This must be part of why it works. Because we start with a high, we read aloud, which is always fun. We end with a high by meeting the author. I'll tell you about that in a second. And then we have this shared experience and conversation in the middle that ends up being a beautiful experience. So what happens then is you seal the story and the read aloud experience in your child's memory as a beautiful part of their childhood. And so you don't have to read aloud every day. You don't have to read aloud hundreds or thousands of books. You just have to do this every once in a while, sprinkle them in, and your child will have beautiful literary memories of their childhood. And so first step is always just reading aloud, and you always just want to start with one. Remember, when it comes to your child's education, no matter the subject, quantity bears very, very little on your child's future success. How much they do, how many books they read, whether they read this huge long list of hard books, does not bear that much on their future success. Their delight, though, does. Because if they delight in books, they'll keep reading as adults. And that is the most important piece of the puzzle. Okay, so let's move on to step 2. I'm gonna keep going. I'll keep you here all day just talking about number 1. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is share an experience. Now, this is the heart of what we're talking about here is a warm, memorable experience. Simple. We want to make the book sweet. We want to make it delightful. We want our kids to go, hey, remember when we read Snowflake Bentley and we caught snowflakes outside, if you have snow, or we sat down and you read that book to us while we had hot cocoa by the fire. They will remember things like that, right? So in the guide, you'll see a few different options for shared experience. One is a hot cocoa read aloud. One is to catch snowflakes if you actually live where there's snow. You don't have to have snow, of course, to enjoy a book like Snowflake Bentley. And then the third is to watch The Snowflake Man. We have a link here to a really awesome 8-minute video that is really well done on YouTube about Wilson Bentley, his life. So you see how simple this is, right? It's just a simple, sweet, delightful memory. That's the shared experience. See how simple so far? We're just reading aloud. One simple experience. You can do more if you want, but you really just need one. And then we can move on to step 3. Now, if you're just joining us, we're talking about Read Aloud, the Read Aloud Revival Family Book Club Guide, Snowflake Bentley. And if you haven't gotten this, you can get it for free at readaloudrevival.com/snowflake. We're talking about the 4 steps to really having a beautiful book experience with your kids. The first 2 are read aloud and share an experience. And now we're going to talk about talking about it. This is my favorite part. The important thing to remember when you're talking with your kids about books, you don't need to have literary know-how. You don't need to know all the terms. You don't need to know what like a theme or a trope is or literary analysis. You don't need any of that. If you know how to ask your kids about how their day went, you know how to talk to your kids about books. It is so simple. The key is that you want to ask open-ended questions. The reason you want to ask open-ended questions is because, well, let's just give you an example. So let's say that you have finished reading a book that you loved and you call up your best friend who has also recently finished reading that book. And before you start really talking about it, your friend starts asking you quiz questions about what happened in the story just because she's trying to find out if you really read it. She's like, I want to talk to you about this, but I want to make sure you read it first. So tell me where it happened or when it happened or what happened after this. Or this is what we do to our kids all the time, right? With every reading comprehension worksheet. Every time that we're asking them comprehension questions that have a right or wrong answer, the goal is to find out if the kid read the book or understood what we read to them. But it feels very condescending. It does not feel like an invitation to the reading life. What an open-ended question does is it's an invitation to the reading life. And the reading life means talking about the ideas that you've encountered in the story. When you can ask questions that don't have a right or wrong answers, your kids quit being afraid of getting the wrong answer, and now they just know you want to talk because you're interested in them. I mean, really the goal of talking, what we really want when our kids talk with us about books is we want them to leave feeling seen and feeling heard and feeling loved and having encountered new ideas. And that can happen really beautifully with some open-ended questions. So, in the guide, you'll find samplings of open-ended questions that you can use about Snowflake Bentley. The other thing I love about open-ended questions is that you can use them with any age. So let's take an example. The first question in here is, what did Wilson Bentley want most of all? Now, your 5-year-old is going to answer that with a 5-year-old answer. Your 18-year-old is going to answer that with an 18-year-old answer. Another example is, if you got to pick one word to describe what this book is about, which word would you choose? Now, your 5 or 6-year-old might say snow. This book was about snowflakes. That's a great answer. Your teenager might say that. You can also dig a little deeper and get them to say something like perseverance or curiosity. Now you can have a conversation that meets your child at wherever they are, that says, I see you, I hear you, and I want to have a conversation with you exactly as you are today. Encounter this book exactly at the place that you're at. So the wonderful thing about open-ended questions is that you don't need to have a whole bunch of complex literary education to be able to talk about the book intellectually with your child. You just need to have the willingness to read a story with your kids and then to talk with them about it and hear their answers to an open-ended question. And here's the other thing that's super great about open-ended questions. Sometimes you're going to ask these and your kids are not going to give you very brilliant answers. And you're going to think, is this even working? So here's the good news. The good news is asking the question is more important than any answer that you get. Developing the habit of asking questions is way more important than the answers your kids give. And here's why. We want to raise discerning readers, right? We only have our kids for a very short time. In the span of their lifetime, we have them at home for a very short time. And most of their reading, if we do our job, right, most of their reading will happen after they leave home. We aren't going to be like handing them all their reading when they're 40. Right? And saying, like, you are only allowed to read these books. We want our kids to be discerning readers. Discerning readers ask questions about what they're reading. And so if we develop in our kids the habit of asking questions as they read, then they learn to become discerning readers, and we're setting them up for a lifetime of reading. If we do it in a conversational, friendly way, we are preserving their delight in reading and their enjoyment of the process, and then we're ensuring that they will become lifetime readers. They're so important, right? If we get caught up in drilling our kids with quizzes or reading a certain number of hard books for school, what happens is our kids, number one, learn to hate reading. Number two, they don't learn the art of asking questions. And so we launch them into their adult life, not liking reading and not knowing how to ask questions of what they read. And those are the two things we really want them to have. So open-ended questions, super simple, work with all the different ages, and they do those two things. That's super important. You can get you can use these open-ended questions, you know, any book that you read, but the ones for Snowflake Bentley are right in your guide, so they're super easy to get. And then the fourth part is to meet the author. Now, if you can. The reason this is so amazing is because once your kids have once your kids have read a book with you, and you've shared this experience and talked about it, and then they meet the author or the illustrator, it takes that relationship with that book to a whole new level. If your kids get to hear from the author or the illustrator why they painted their pictures this way, why they used that word choice, what was the first inkling that came to mind that spurred the creation of this book, how long did it take you, what was the process like, did you ever go to where Wilson Bentley lived, if they can answer all those questions, the author or illustrator can answer those questions for your child will feel like they've met a friend. Now what happens, we do this every month in premium membership. We meet an author every month. We read the book. We do the whole book club guide experience, actually. We read the book, we share an experience, we talk about it, and we meet the author or illustrator every month. What our members tell us happens is the kids will go to the library and then they'll want to read everything by that author. Because now they'll go to the library, and we just had an event with Linda Sue Park. They see the other books by Linda Sue Park and go, I want all of them. I know her. She's like a friend of mine, right? It just takes their relationship with a book and it supercharges it. It's such a beautiful experience. It also helps them see the authors who are making wonderful books for kids are normal people who are doing the work today, and inspires. So many of our members have said their kids are inspired to be authors or illustrators, or to make stories and love stories at a whole new level because they've got all this personal relationship with all these authors now. In fact, if we have any members who are here and want to pop in their kids' experience with author access in the chat, feel free to do that because it's so fun. So what we're doing with Snowflake Bentley is the author, Jacqueline Briggs Martin, is going to come January 30th, and she'll be on a live video stream inside Read Aloud Revival Premium membership. Kids will be able to ask their questions, which is really fun because if you have, let's say, your son Josh asks, where did you first come up with the idea to write the book Snowflake Bentley? And Jacqueline Briggs Martin looks right in the camera and says, Josh, thank you for asking me that, and answers it. I promise you he will remember that for the rest of his life. That is what our members say. They said that is a life-changing moment. They will remember it. And that's what we're going for, right? Those high experiences, like the power of moments, the beginning, the end, and the middle, where things shape our kids' experience with books so they remember books as some of their favorite childhood memories. If you're just joining us, we're walking through the 4 steps of a book club guide. You can get your free book club guide at readaloudrevival.com/snowflake. Now, I mentioned that we do this every month in Read Aloud Revival Premium, and I want to answer some questions about Read Aloud Revival Premium now because we're open for new members. We only do that a few times a year. So here's how this works. In Read Aloud Revival Premium, we do this with a book every single month. We also do a bunch of other things, which I'll tell you about in a second. But we are active all year, but we only open up to new members 3 times a year. And the reason we do that is because then our team can spend most of our time and energy just really making sure our members are getting the best experience possible in premium. So we're open right now, and membership closes Monday, January 21st. So this Monday at 9 p.m. So if you have any questions, now's the time to answer or ask them, and I will answer. I will watch those comments in just a second. I want to tell you what's coming in Read Aloud Revival, and I'm just going to make sure I have the right things next to me. Let's see. Okay, so January Snowflake Bentley, right? So we're doing this. Jacqueline Briggs Martin's going to come meet our kids. Can we talk for a second about picture books? Because this is a picture book. So some of you with older kids might be going, yeah, but that's a picture book. Let's talk about that for just a second. At Read Aloud Revival, when we are thinking about book club choices, we choose books that appeal to a broad range of ages because we believe that families that read together bond in a unique way. Now, picture books are like the perfect literary form. Let me tell you a little bit about why. You may notice we recommend a lot of picture books at Read Aloud Revival, and we mean to recommend them for all ages. If you are thinking about quality of language, a picture book very often has more sophisticated language patterns than a novel. And the reason is because a picture book author has only sometimes 300, sometimes 500, maybe 700 or 800 words to tell their story. So picture book authors are oftentimes poets. They are carefully curating their words, selecting them so carefully to be able to fit into their word count that the literary quality is just superb. And very often, if you were to give me 2 sentences from a picture book and compare them with 2 sentences from a novel, the picture book is going to stand head and shoulders above just in its literary quality. So that's literary quality. Now, pair that with the fact that a picture book, like Snowflake Bentley, contains an entire story structure, a beginning, a middle, an end, a midpoint, and all the different plot points that are in every story show up in your picture books. And so, whether your kids are reading, let's say you're reading, I don't know, A Christmas Carol with your older kids, or Tale of Two Cities, something by Dickens, Oliver Twist. Those books are going to have the story structure, one complete story structure, and Snowflake Bentley is going to have one complete story structure. So much easier to wrap our minds around how a story works with shorter text, right? Add to that the fact that the literary quality is so high in a picture book, now we're talking. Now, add to that the fact that the illustrations in so many picture books are so wonderful. It is literally like putting an art museum in your child's lap, right? A lot of us eschew picture books and think my kids have outgrown picture books, so we take our older kids to art museums to stare at picture books on the wall. I mean, that's really what's happening here. Some of today's best illustrators and artists are making today's picture books. Their illustrations are gorgeous. So all those 3 things together, literary quality, story structure, and art, make a picture book pretty much a perfect literary experience. So if you see that we're talking about a picture book, remember that. I am using Snowflake Bentley. I use the same system, the same 4-step system with my 5-year-olds that I use with my 17-year-old. We read aloud the book together. We share an experience. We do this all as a family. We talk about it, and when I talk to my little kids about it, they're going to give me little kid answers. When I talk to my teenagers about it, they give me teenage answers, and we have some really meaty discussions. Sometimes we don't. Remember, it's about the habit of asking the questions. And then we meet the author or the illustrator. And so that's how you can use it even with your older kids. Okay, so that's January. February is Narnia. Actually, all throughout the winter, we are reading Narnia at Read-Aloud Revival. And so oftentimes for a season, we'll have 1 or 2 novels that we're reading if you want to read a novel, and we have picture books every month. The way I want you to hear me talking about Read-Aloud Revival Premium is like a feast, okay? And you're just going to pick whatever your child or your family is ready for. So think of it as a menu. When you go to a restaurant, you don't eat everything on the menu, right? You choose what's best for you at that time. And so in Read-Aloud Revival Premium, we spread this feast because we have lots of families that have all little kids. We have lots of families that have just teenagers. We have lots of families that have a mix. And so every family, there's something for everyone, but they're going to pick and choose, and we can help you with that too. Pick and choose the things that are going to serve their family best. So keep that in mind. Now through the winter, we're reading the Chronicles of Narnia because, I mean, talk about perfection, right? Families are jumping in wherever they are. So some families have never read Narnia. They're starting with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Some families have read all of Narnia. They're just going back and reading their favorites. That's what my family's doing. Some families are trying to read through the entire set this winter. It just depends. What I want you to hear me say about these family book clubs in Read-Aloud Revival Premium is that they're not required. You don't have to do one every single month. We have members that do one every quarter, or 2 a year. They do other things in membership, and I'll tell you about those in a minute. We have some families that do every book club every month. You just do whatever works for your family, depending on what else you're doing, right? So Narnia, we're reading Narnia. We'll have, same thing, we'll have a family book club guide. Our members already got this, their family book club guide, where they're given ideas for reading aloud. We have our suggested order for how to read Narnia. If you have all younger kids, we would recommend that you read, if you have all younger kids and aren't ready to do the novels at all, then there is a wonderful picture book that you could read to them, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. We have a shared experience. This one is Dinner with Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, which I think is going to be wonderful. I'm just saying. It includes a great big lump of deep yellow butter in the middle of the table from which everyone took as much as he wanted. And also, to top it all off, A gloriously sticky marmalade roll with tea for dessert. Fun, right? Okay, and then we talk about it, step 3, and we've got the open-ended questions. Now, the way we constructed these is it doesn't matter, just like it doesn't matter how old your kids are, you can use the same open-ended questions. It doesn't matter which Narnia book you're reading, you can use any of these open-ended questions to ask your kids about any Narnia book. And then, okay, so meet the author. And we got creative this time because we couldn't have C.S. Lewis on to meet the author because C.S. Lewis is dead. Rest in peace. So instead, we are having the next best thing, which is Jonathan Rogers. Jonathan Rogers is one of my favorite living authors. He's the author of the Wilder King books, Bark of the Bog Owl. I love those books. He's also an expert of sorts on Narnia. He's written, whoop, you can see it behind me, The World According to Narnia, which our Mama Book Club and Premium membership is reading this winter as well. And so he's gonna come and talk to our kids about Narnia and the kids can ask questions like they would have asked C.S. Lewis if we could have, and he'll answer them from what he knows of C.S. Lewis's writings. Pretty cool, right? So that's how we're doing it in February. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I just talked to you guys all day, so I have to make sure I keep going. March is fun because you probably know that Tommy DePaola is one of my favorite humans on the entire face of the planet. I love him. And he's coming back for the 3rd time because I'm not the only one who loves him. All of our members love him. So his are like the most well-attended author access events. And he's coming back and he's going to do his St. Patrick's Day book. So he's got this wonderful book called Patrick, Patron Saint of Ireland. This one's funny. Finn McCool, The Giant of Knockmany Hill. And then these Jamie O'Rourke books they're a hoot. Jamie O'Rourke and the Puka, Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato, they're all St. Patrick's Day books. So what we're gonna do is our members will get another book club guide that walks them through those 4 steps, probably centering on this one, because this is kind of the one like pillar book or whatever. And then Tommy's gonna come meet your kids. So he'll be live on screen answering kids' questions. And if you've never met Tommy DePaola, it's a moment you won't forget. I love him so much. There is nobody on this earth like Tommy DePaola. That's March. April, we're reading Raising a Hero. So tell me in the chat, you know, I'm assuming, if you give a mouse a cookie, if you give a moose a muffin, if you give a pig a pancake, that author, Laura Numeroff, is also the author of this book, Raising a Hero, about a service dog. So we're actually pairing this one. So this is a book, this is a really lovely picture book, but to add to your literary experience for your older kids, we have another selection that month as well for older kids. So older kids could listen to this and this one too. Chester and Gus by Cammie McGovern. Now a little side fun story about this is that I was in Massachusetts last summer and got to have breakfast with the author of The Penderwicks, Jeannie Birdsall. That's such a crazy thing to say. I know, when I say it, I still kind of laugh like, what? And so we had so much fun at breakfast. She wanted to take me, excuse me, I have a little cold. She wanted to take me to her local independent bookstore. And so we went there and we're shopping together and she put this book in my hands and said, have you read this? And I said, no. She said, you need to read it. I read it. I loved it. It's a story about a service dog and an autistic boy and it is beautiful. So older kids in April can read both. This is a quick read. It's not, you can kind of see, it's not like a real cumbersome. And then if you have just younger kids, they could just read this one, which is kind of fun because then you have your family united around a theme, right? We're all reading about service dogs. We're all talking about themes that relate to that. Really cool. Laura Numeroff, the author of this one and the author of the Give Your Mouse a Cookie and all that, she's coming to do our author access event that month. And she is so funny. I have not talked to her on the phone yet. We've just been emailing back and forth. And her emails are so funny. I read them aloud to my family. So that's how much fun that event's going to be in April. Now we're going to keep doing it for the rest of the year. We haven't announced our summer lineup yet, so I'm not telling you who's coming in May, June, July, August. You'll have to wait for that. But for now, for the winter and spring season, that's what we've got coming up. Once again, it's a menu. It's a feast you can choose from. You don't need to feel obligated to do any of them. We have a lot of other really wonderful resources in premium membership. The whole membership is created to help you make meaningful connections with your kids and to teach from rest. That's really what we're trying to do in there. So aside from just these family book club guides and author access, every season we do master classes. These are classes that are live, like webinar style, basically. Only our members get into these, and they will help you teach from rest and lead with confidence. I teach classes on teaching from rest all the time in there from my book, Teaching from Rest. We have a whole class called Focus and Align that is based on my Teaching from Rest book that you could watch in there. This coming season, we have a couple of guest teachers coming. Carol Joy Seid is going to be doing a class on designing your own homeschool curriculum. And here's a spoiler alert. I've heard her say that all you need is a math book, a Bible, and a library card. So she's my kind of lady, because that sounds really simple, and I like simple. Misty Winkler is coming to teach one on how you can use your own personality type to supercharge your homeschool. They're not all totally homeschooling. Some of them are just for motherhood, like how to have conversations with your kids about books or how to enjoy your kids in the early years. I teach both of those, and those are in there. So we have this whole library of master classes that are for you. They're like professional development for mom to teach from rest, to lead with confidence, to create a book club culture at home. We do every season, we do a Mama Book Club. This time we are going to read The World According to Narnia, and we're going to like dive deep into this Narnia rich experience we're giving our kids by reading this super short. I mean, it's really short. The chapters are short. Jonathan Rogers, the guest for Narnia, he's going to come talk to us about it. So we're going to be chatting in the forum about it as we're reading together, and then he's going to come and do a live video stream with us. We do one of these every season. We have a super crazy awesome forum. It is really hard for me to describe how wonderful it is. We lift each other up in prayer. We give the best book recommendations. It's the first place I go when I need book recommendations, and just tips and advice and laughter. It's a very vibrant forum. Oh, I'm like, there's something else. We also do workshops. So every season we have a storytelling workshop, because kids who are immersed in this kind of atmosphere where they're being invited into stories, where they're reading aloud and they're sharing experiences and they're talking about them and they're meeting the authors, they tend to get a storytelling bug. And so we're giving them resources to do that. So every season we have, sometimes we have both writing and drawing. Sometimes we just do one or the other. We have Ralph Mazziello comes and teaches our how to draw workshops, which are awesome and really fun. I love seeing them like on Instagram or Facebook or in the forum. Kids will be drawing for days after those. And we have published authors come teach writing workshops, because I think the best writing teachers are real writers. And so they come in and they teach our writing classes every once in a while, like a workshop to supercharge your kids' writing. So we have those. And one of the questions we get a lot is, well, what about all the things you've done in the past at Read-Aloud Revival? Yeah, you have access to all that when you join. So when you join, you get everything that's coming up in the winter and spring, and you also have access to everything we've done in the past. So it's kind of a gold mine. Cost is $15 a month. That's another frequent question. That gets your whole family in, so you don't need to pay per kid. It's just $15 a month. It gives you a family pass to everything. What else? Oh, I know, I wanted to tell you. Okay, so a couple of our members said a few things I wanted to share with you. Cameron said, membership here is worth more than I've paid for my curriculum for the year. Stephanie said, I can't imagine our lives without RAR Premium. And Lacey said, RAR Premium is the best money I spend each month. And then another one of our members, who I forgot to write her name down, I'm sorry, sweet lady who sent this to us, RAR is by far the best thing we've been a part of in our 12 years of homeschooling. So if you're kind of thinking, I just don't know, I like it. I mean, here's what I would say. If you like the idea of having your family experience books in this way, then RAR Premium is very likely to be an awesome fit for you. But because I know it can be like, I don't know if we're going to have time, or I'm worried I'm not going to make the most use of it, or I just not 100% sure, we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you join for a month and then you go, you know what, it's just not a good fit. We could never get here. Just ask for a refund. We'll cancel your subscription. We'll give you your money back. I don't want you to feel like it's a risk. I want you to feel invited into this place where we can transform the way our families interact with books. Okay, so I want to answer any questions that are in the chat. And actually, Courtney, I think they're rolling by too fast. So if you want to put them in Slack for me, that would be awesome. I see that Tracy asked, can Read-Aloud Revival inspire a 40-year-old reader as well? Okay, two things I want to say about that. First, I want to say that a lot of our families, a lot of our moms will say they just wish they had this when they were younger because it is transforming the way that they think about reading. They're reading more than they ever have. They're enjoying it more than ever. So I totally think a yes. The other thing I want to point out is for any of you who have all young kids and you're going, I just don't know if there's going to be enough for me. Let me talk about that for a second. Really young kids are not going to be into the author access events. They just aren't. You know, my 5-year-old twins do not have the attention span, frankly, or the interest in sitting there listening to an author talk about their book for an hour or whatever. That's okay. Remember that everything in membership is like a feast, and we're going to take what we're fit for. If you have all young kids, you are going to want to use the Family Book Club Guide, steps 1 through 3. Okay, you're going to want to read aloud, share that experience, talk about it. You can do all that with your kids. You're going to want to use the forum because we have a lot of awesome members who have all young kids and are constantly swapping ideas and troubleshooting and book recommendations. You're going to want to use master classes because several of our master classes are specifically for moms of young kids, like homeschooling the early years and how to have conversations with your kids, which is actually for all ages. And then you're going to want to participate in our Mama Book Club because we will supercharge your own reading life. And I think you'll find yourself really delighting in reading in a new way. And the other thing is, so much of real education and good parenting is modeling, right? And when we're doing the Mama Book Club, we're reading these books and we're talking about them in the forum and we're meeting the author or an expert about the book at the end. We are modeling the literary life for our kids. And we end up infusing our home with this book club culture. Let's see. If I missed your question, you asked it a long time ago, would you put it back in there? Because it's a little hard to scroll through. Okay, yes. Jessica said book club guides are only available with membership. Yes. So you can get the Snowflake Bentley one for free by going to readaloudrevival.com/snowflake. But the ones we make every month, like the Narnia one, yes, that's in membership. So once you're a member, you'll have access to it. You have access to all the new ones as we release them every month, and you have access to all the ones we've done in the past. So let's talk about that. Let's say you see a member, let's just say Narnia. Say like you're like, I don't know if the Narnia one's gonna be a good fit. I have all toddlers, my oldest is 4. I mean, yeah, probably not. So what you could do that month is pick any one from our archive. And if you ask in the forum, hey, everybody, which one should I pick? You will get great responses because we will love to tell you which ones were the best. And you can just choose a book club guide and you get access to all the replays from our author access events. So our author events, our master classes, our workshops, everything is recorded live. We do it all live so we get to be together online, right? But it's all recorded. So if you can't make it because you've got something else going on, you don't have to worry that you're not getting it. You'll get it in the replay. If you want to watch or participate in an old book club choice that we did last year, you have the guide and membership, you have the author access replay and membership. It's all there. How much is membership? It is $15 a month. You can save a little by choosing quarterly or annual. So you'll see that on the page. And to join, you want to go to rarmembership.com. And like I mentioned earlier, we close on Monday. We close to new members on Monday, January 21st. And we just do that so we can really dive in for our current members. We can really give them all we've got and give them the best experience possible. We will reopen again in May. Mid to late May. I can't remember the date, but it's mid to late May for our summer season. So if you want to get in on winter or spring, all the things I just told you about with Narnia and Tommy DePaola and Laura Numeroff and the service dog stuff, if you want to get in on that, you want to join before Monday the 21st at 9 p.m. Pacific. And then you can always wait if you want, and we'll reopen in May, and that will be for our summer season. And I have an announcement that's coming in the summer. I'm finalizing it right now. It's on the tip of my tongue because I get so excited. I want to tell you about it, but I can't yet. First of all, we always announce it to our members first, but secondly, I haven't finalized it yet. Oh, speaking of announcing to our membership first, this is kind of a secret thing that we don't usually advertise, but I'll share it with you today. Sometimes when the Read Aloud Revival book list comes out and you go to the library and there's like 20 holds on the book. Does any of you have that experience? We got a few emails from librarians this last couple weeks saying you are killing us because we don't have enough books for all the, people who are putting them on hold. So one of the perks, one of the little secret perks of being a membership is that we will post the book list first inside membership. And so our members end up getting like the monthly book list or any new book list that we're doing a few days to a few weeks before we post them to the big wide world. So then you end up increasing your odds of being able to borrow the book from the library. It's funny how exciting that is because, sometimes it can be hard to get them from the library. Jessica said, is it paid per month or one upfront cost? You can choose either. If you want to pay per month, it's $15 a month. If you want to save a little bit, you can either buy a quarter, which is 3 months, or you can buy a year, which is the whole year, and that's $149. And you get, when you do annual, you get 2 months free. That ends up being 2 months free. And then, what else was I going to tell you? Remember the money back guarantee. So if you're on the fence, I would encourage you to join while we're open, just because we are only open till Monday. And then ask us too. Send us email, ask in the forum, how can I get the most of this? We're happy to answer your questions. I have kids of this age, and I want to watch an awesome masterclass right now. Which one would you recommend? We will be happy to answer you. The forum is where I spend most of my time, so if you're asking me questions, if you're sending me DMs on Instagram, you've probably already figured out that I am the world's worst Instagram DMer. I never check them. But if you ask me a question in membership forum, I will answer you. So you can ask us there, and I will be happy to let you know, or any of our members or our team will be happy to direct you to really good master classes based on your kids' ages and all that good stuff. And if it's not a good fit within a month, then just let us know, and we will, no questions asked. We're happy to give you your money back. We don't want you to, be a member and be signed up if it's not a good fit for you. But we love the way this is transforming our family's way with books, and we would love to invite you to do the same. So, yes, do you have access to all of the previous author interviews from other years? We do. Now, I wish I could screen share with you, but I don't think I can. And if I could, I wouldn't know how to do it. So, if you go to readaloudrevival.com/archive, you can see the full list of everything in membership. We list every author access that's available, every family book club guide, every masterclass, every workshop. It's a long page. So go to readaloudrevival.com/archive, and you can see the list of absolutely everything that you have access to right away. Nothing is like dripped out to you. You don't get like restricted access. When you're in, you are in, and we will just love you up. So you can access absolutely anything, the forum, everything we've done in the past, and everything we're doing now. Okay, so I'm gonna hop off. If you have questions, go ahead, and I'm gonna put up a post on my Instagram feed, because I know once we stop this live, you won't be able to ask questions here. I'm gonna put up a post on my Instagram feed. If you have questions, feel free to ask them there. I'll be happy to answer you. You wanna join by going to rarmembership.com before Monday, January 21st at 9 p.m. Pacific. And thanks for coming to hang out. I'm so glad you're here. And let me see. I still want to be a part of this, and I signed up last year. I couldn't figure out how to. Oh, yes. Okay. So ask me that, Glam Nikolai. Ask me that in the post that I'm going to put in my Instagram feed, and I'll answer you there. So awesome. Okay, everybody have a wonderful day. I hope you join us. Oh, and don't forget, if you haven't gotten it yet, this is free. Readaloudrevival.com/snowflake. Bye, everybody.